Welcome to This Explainer. You know, when you think of the Sahara Desert, you're probably picturing endless, blistering sand dunes just baking under a merciless sun, right? But what if I told you that beneath those millions of square kilometers of scorching sand lies one of the most astonishing geological and historical records on our entire planet? Today, we're going to unearth the unimaginable layers of history buried right beneath the world's largest hot desert. We're going to peel back the sand to reveal hidden timelines that will absolutely change how you view this extreme landscape.
It's a literal night and day contrast. We actually call this the Green Sahara paradox. On the one hand, you have the reality of the modern Sahara, endless arid sand dunes, just a truly unforgiving environment. But then, on the other hand, the ancient Sahara was defined by lush greenery, massive megalakes, and an absolute abundance of aquatic and marine life. It's almost impossible to reconcile those two realities in your head, isn't it? But the truth is, the Sahara hasn't always been a wasteland. This duality gives us our very first glimpse into just how radically and how rapidly Earth's climate and ecosystems can change. The desert has lived these incredibly vibrant past lives, and all the clues are locked away right under the dunes.
So, to make sense of this massive transformation, we're going to take a journey through 4 totally different eras. First up, oceans beneath the sand. Then, the Age of Monsters. Third, the Green Sahara. And finally, engineering in space. Let's dive in.
Era number 1, oceans beneath the sand, the marine graveyard. We're winding the clock way, way back, millions of years before human history, to a period when the very sand that now covers the continent was actually the dark, cold bottom of a massive, ancient ocean. And that raises a pretty striking question. How on earth did whales end up in the driest place on the planet? I mean, it sounds like a riddle, right? But it's a very real scientific reality. Just imagine trekking through a sun-scorched, waterless desert, only to literally stumble over the massive ribs of a deep-sea leviathan sticking right out of the sand. This bizarre scenario brings us to one of the most fascinating discoveries in all of paleontological history. The answer to that riddle lies in Wadi el-Hitan, which beautifully translates to the Valley of the Whales. And what is so astonishing about this specific location in Egypt is the sheer volume of massive marine fossils perfectly preserved in the dry sand. We aren't just talking about a few scattered bone fragments here. This is an entire marine graveyard completely frozen in time, sitting right in the middle of a desert.
See, millions of years ago, this entire region was swallowed up by the ancient Tethys Sea. The fossils found in this valley belong to some of the very earliest forms of whales known to science. But here's the part that is just mind-blowing. These fossils show clear, undeniable evidence of whales possessing functional leg bones. Yeah, these ancient creatures actually walked the earth before their bodies fully transitioned to a completely aquatic lifestyle. The Sahara basically holds the exact snapshot of this major evolutionary leap.
All right, moving on to Era 2, the Age of Monsters, Rivers of Giants. Over time, that massive Tethys Sea slowly receded, but it didn't just turn into an arid desert overnight. Instead, as the waters pulled back, they left behind a sprawling network of giant, prehistoric rivers, which created a completely different, but honestly equally terrifying ecosystem. That ancient river system was ruled by the Spinosaurus. It was a massive, carnivorous dinosaur uniquely adapted for an aquatic lifestyle. Forget the T-Rex for a second. The Spinosaurus was an absolute titan. It was a giant, water-dwelling dinosaur that totally dominated the vast waterways of the prehistoric Sahara.
We've actually unearthed Spinosaurus fossils directly from the Saharan rock. And from these remains, scientists put together a massive skeletal reconstruction, revealing this beast with a towering sail on its back and jaws that look a lot like a giant crocodile's. It ruled as the absolute apex predator of those deep, ancient rivers. It really stretches the imagination to realize that right where dry, dusty dunes stand today, colossal aquatic dinosaurs were once hunting in deep, rushing waters.
Which brings us to Era 3, the Green Sahara, a lost paradise.
So, we're fast-forwarding from millions of years ago to just thousands of years ago, which is practically yesterday in geological terms. We're entering the lush era of early humans. I want you to consider a single number, 10,000. Because just 10,000 years ago, the Sahara was a completely different world. This was confirmed by an incredible discovery made by archaeologists like Paul Sereno in the Gobaro region of Niger. They dug up a sprawling burial ground containing human remains dating back 10,000 years. And the crazy thing? These skeletons didn't belong to people struggling to survive in a harsh desert. Not at all.
They belonged to tall, robust hunter-gatherers who were living in an area of immense natural abundance.
Now, you might be wondering, how do we know for absolute sure they weren't living in a desert? Well, modern technology literally allowed us to see beneath the surface. Japanese satellite technology equipped with specialized radar was able to pierce right through the top layers of sand to reveal something spectacular, a massive ancient river network in Mauritania. These images mapped out vast, hidden water systems that once sustained ancient life. It's like the ghost of a lush, thriving river valley is permanently stamped into the bedrock beneath the dunes.
Just contrast those two realities for a second. Back then, you had giant lakes, early humans swimming, and lush hunting grounds just teeming with wildlife like hippos and crocodiles. Early humans built their entire lives and communities directly on the shores of these massive, vanished lakes. But now, the ecosystem has totally flipped to unlivable arid dunes and extreme heat. It went from a vibrant paradise to a barren furnace in just a few thousand years, entirely burying a rich chapter of human history beneath the sand.
And that brings us to our final chapter, Era 4, Engineering and Space, Cosmic Sands. You see, the Sahara doesn't just hold the biological remains of ancient animals and ecosystems. It also guards the secrets of incredibly advanced early human engineering, and even the scars of violent cosmic events. For instance, if I asked you to name a famous ancient stone circle, you'd almost certainly say Stonehenge, right? Well, the construction of Nabta Playa in the Sahara happened thousands of years before Stonehenge was ever built. This Saharan site holds immense historical age and importance that honestly often goes completely unrecognized.
So what is it? Nabta Playa is an incredibly ancient astronomical calendar built out of massive stone circles. The ingenuity of the early people who lived there is simply staggering. Long before the global monuments we know today even existed, these early inhabitants engineered these heavy megaliths, aligning them with incredible precision to track the summer solstice and the movement of the stars. They were actively mapping the cosmos from what is now just an empty desert.
And speaking of the cosmos coming to the Sahara, let's look at an extraordinary journey that kicks off with a violent extraterrestrial impact. Millions of years ago, a meteorite struck the desert with such intense, extreme heat that it instantly liquefied the sand. When that liquid cooled down, it created something beautifully weird and extremely rare, yellow-green Libyan Desert Glass. Thousands of years later, ancient Egyptians actually found this alien glass, carved it, and crafted it directly into a piece of royal jewelry, a scarab beetle centerpiece for none other than Pharaoh Tutankhamun. I mean, think about that, from a violent cosmic explosion all the way to a king's chess piece.
We have covered a staggering amount of history in this explainer today, and I think it leads us directly to one final, really provocative thought. If millions of square kilometers of sand can successfully hide walking whales, giant aquatic dinosaurs, lost human paradises, and ancient alien glass, what else is still waiting down there to be discovered? The Sahara isn't some empty wasteland. It's an incredibly vast, golden vault holding the history of our planet, and we've really only just begun to scratch the surface. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning what lies beneath.